Howdy Earthlings, this is kind of like my 5 furry game series, except not as in-depth. There are a lot of games for me to talk about, so you're getting like a sentence per game. The whole point of this video is to save you some time so you can quickly get the good stuff without having to browse through it all yourself. Keep in mind these sales are based on Steam's spring sale for 2025. If you're late, I can't help you. And if you're not on PC, all I can say is womp womp. This list is still good for getting recommendations for furry games though, because there's a lot that I'm going to mention here. Furry games to me are anything with anthropomorphism or from genres furries really like. So there are a couple that stretch the definition here. Like with my furry games list, I added some Gooner options at the end. Sale ends in 5 gays, so let's hurry this one up. Palworld. If you haven't played this game, then the only reason you know it is from the ridiculously vague Nintendo lawsuit patents. Get and play this one while you can, because there's a possibility that it might not be around forever. In Palworld, you play a survival-like game like Rust, but you'll be collecting various creatures to do hard labor on your behalf along with fighting them. It's in early access, but depending on how this lawsuit works out, you might not be able to experience the game in full release, so it's better to try it early rather than never. Palworld is 25% off, making it $22.50. Banners of Ruin. This is a turn-based card deck builder roguelike similar to Slay the Spire, but features an entirely furry fantasy setting with party-based mechanics. Each party member comes with its own set of cards, giving another angle to the roguelike deck builder. The dev sent me this one, and it's pretty okay. I don't really like these kinds of games though, so that's just me. Banners of Ruin is 75% off, making it just $5. Cult of the Lamb. There is zero chance you missed this game because the social media campaigns were crazy. Anyway, you play Lamb, and in co-op, Lamb or other Lamb, and you're tasked by an ancient forbidden god to build a cult so that they can be resurrected. This is a more casual management sim, but with a hardcore roguelike game built inside of it. If you're someone who plays only cozy games, then maybe look at some reviews, because I know a couple people who love the management stuff, but are bad at the demanding roguelike gameplay of the dungeoning portions. You can fulfill your dreams of running a cult for 50% off, making it $12.50. Death's Door, a Souls-like game where you play a crow. That really sums it up, honestly. Did you know that crows can memorize human faces and tell other crows about you? So be nice to them, or a murder of crows may be taken literally. Death's Door is a beautiful game though, with large environments, and got a lot of 9s from several reviewing outlets. I played it myself, I just don't remember it that well. I was playing a lot of stuff at the time. Death's Door is $5, being 75% off. Hell of a deal. Fight Crab. One of those games that stretches my definition of furry. You play crabs and you wield giant weapons against one another in glorious crustacean combat. Fight Crab is 60% off at $8, and Fight Crab 2 is 30% off at $10.50. Light Anode Heart. Indie devs have been going crazy with Pokemon-like video game releases, but this one is a little different. Anode Heart is more of a Digimon game. For 50% off, Anode Heart is only $9. Hollow Knight. You play a little bug who fights big baddies in a Souls-like game of minuscule but massive scale. For this half-pint hero, you can get the game for half off at $7.50. Persona 5 Royale. Anime game about students who battle monsters with their own monsters. During the day you balance your home and school life, and at night you're a thief who defeats evil. Persona, like most anime games, are $60 and won't lower that price outside of sales or until we get a sequel. So 60% off for $24 isn't too bad. The game is plenty lengthy if your idea of value is based on playtime. This puts it at barely cheaper than a used physical copy, but if you don't care whether it's Royal Edition or not, you can get Persona 5 for $7 from GameStop for the PS4, which is how I've got it. SMT5 Vengeance. Like Persona, but with none of that annoying visual novel junk. It's a monster collection JRPG where you'll battle other monsters with your custom team of monsters. It also has fusion mechanics, which is something people who like Pokemon have been begging for, but like it's existed in SMT since the beginning. This is made by the same company as Persona, so their sales work the same. 40% off gets you the game for $35. You can get the non-Vengeance version on Switch for $15 or the Vengeance version for $25. Either way, I don't recommend playing it on Switch. I have, and it doesn't run very good, especially on launch Switches. But if you have a PS5, a physical copy of Vengeance is only $23, which I do recommend. Cuphead. Furry means anthropomorphic, and anthropomorphic means things that act human. Therefore, Cuphead is a furry game. In it, you'll be playing little dudes in a side-scroller boss rush and action platformer. The game is hard, but it's also fun. If you like Mega Man, you'll probably like this. Also, furries will like it for the art reason, because the whole game is made from classic-style animation stills that were then made into a game. So it's very artsy, very traditional artsy. Cuphead is 30% off for $14, which isn't a great sale. It's been out for 8 years, but apparently this is the lowest it's ever been, and it's still much cheaper than physical. 9 Souls. Sekiro-inspired platformer action RPG with a focus on deflection-based combat. In it, you're trying to kill 9 rulers and claim their souls. It's kind of, a Dark Souls style story. 9 Souls is 30% off for $21, which is a pretty good sale since it came out less than a year ago. Stray. Narrative game about a cat trapped in a city populated by machines. You'll uncover a mystery and try to escape. 40% off for 18 bucks. Stray Path, a roguelike that blends free cell solitaire mechanics. It has a furry on the thumbnail, but looks like most of the characters are actually human. Can't believe furries are worth clickbaiting now. You can play Stray Path for 12 bucks, which is 20% off. This one just came out last month, so that's not too bad. Spiritfarer. I talked about this one in my last video much more in depth. You can see that on the end card. You're a human who is the next incarnation of death, and it's your job to ferry the souls of the damned, but you'll mostly be fishing. Also, everyone else is a furry. This one is probably the best deal on the whole list. You can get it for just 3 bucks, and if you like this kind of game, you're going to have a lot of bang for your buck. Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5. You know what Kingdom Hearts is. This collection is all the stuff before Kingdom Hearts 3. 40% off for 30 bucks. They could do a lot better, and you can get it much cheaper physical if you have a PS4. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. The most recent entry in the long series by Insomniac Games, and it's my favorite franchise. You play a Lombax, which is an alien species, and his name is Ratchet. And in this one, he meets another Lombax, and she's a girl. Before this, Ratchet believed he was the last Lombax left. Turns out there's some timey-wimey shenanigans. Combat is third-person action platformer, but with a focus on shooting and RPG mechanics. I absolutely love this series, but this is the only entry I haven't played. Sag, 50% off for 30 bucks. I'd really like to get this one, but 30 bucks is still quite a bit for a game. If you like shooters, RPG mechanics, like weapon levels, chaos, humor, and furries, please get this one. It's one of the PC ports from Sony, and I'd like the next Ratchet to also come to PC. Kingdom Hearts 3. You know what Kingdom Hearts is, same as 1.5, 2.5, 40% off, making it 35 bucks. Tunic. You play a little fox fella in a Souls-like game that teaches you world knowledge without a single spoken word. You'll learn everything about the game from finding pieces to the game's manual, and it's written in another language. It's a beautiful game with a focus on exploration, learning, and mystery. 50% off for 15 bucks. Animal Well. You probably heard a little bit about this one. Its publishing company, Big Mode Games, is founded by Donkey, the YouTuber. The game itself is an exploration-based platformer full of mystery and interesting interactions, and at times, uses your knowledge of game logic against you, which I love when games do that. 20% off for 30 bucks, but it hasn't even been out for a whole year, so that's fine. Party Animals. Grab some friends. Literally. Seriously, it's a mechanic in the game, you can grab them. And Party Animals, you play animals that look like fursuiters, and you beat each other up while having the control and physics of a fursuiter fresh from a night of bench drinking at the nearest room party. 40% off for 12 bucks. Considering it has microtransactions, I think it should be free. I don't care if it's just cosmetic. But something closer to 5 bucks would be better, since you need a copy for each friend to play. So they're guaranteeing at least 2 sales. Surprisingly, a massive player base even a few years after release. Dragon's Dogma 2. A massive RPG by Capcom with bosses that tower over you. You can play as a kitty person, and you'll recruit a team of pawns. They're your party members, and they have different behaviors and impart knowledge to help you, but that depends on the creator of that pawn and their experience with the game. A year old in a few days, so 43% off for 40 bucks isn't too bad, except this is one of those titles that's normally 70 and had a terrible launch, and struggles to run well even on recommended hardware. Little Kitty, Big City. You'll play a little kitty who fell out of their apartment and have to find a way back up before your owner finds out. 35% off for 16 bucks. It's not even a year old yet, but the game is incredibly short, so I recommend playing it on Game Pass if you already have it. Super Lesbian Animal RPG. Read the title, that's the game. It's a turn-based RPG about lesbian furries fighting monsters in dungeons. 40% off for 9 bucks. Monster Prom. This game series can be played alone or with friends, which I recommend playing with friends. It's kind of like a digital board game and dating game at the same time. Prom 1 is 3 bucks, 2 is 4 bucks, 3 is 6 bucks. All of them are worth playing with a group, and I think it works with remote play. Consider whether you can get a group together first, as it's best with friends. Fly Night. A pretty short co-op old-school first-person dungeon crawler where you play knights who are flies. 20% off for just under 5 bucks. Came out like a month ago. Sonic Shadow Generations. It's another Sonic game, but it's the most recent one. I have no idea if it's any good, but it can't be worse than Sonic Forces. 25% off for $37.50. In my experience, more than 10 bucks is too much for a Sonic game, but that's just my opinion. Put Chao Garden back in the game, and maybe I'll think about paying full price. Alright, let's stop here for a minute. The rest of these games are H games, which means they're full of adults-only content. Continue at your own risk. You got some time though, it's supporters time. This video is brought to you by supporters like those on my Patreon, YouTube members, and through donations like supers. I keep my streams on YouTube ad-free thanks to them, and I've started streaming to Twitch, in addition, on twitch.tv/SerasThings. Anyway, H games after I read their names. Priority Firework Penguin, Momentary Unicorn, Aurora the Puppy Moth, Sly, Nat, Selena, Marius, Yini, Worm Syrup, Rask, Ver, Beef, Bait, Sly again, Colorado Blue, Vaderson, Linky, Forsoku, Linky again, Spikejack, and Malding Brick. Now for the Gooner games. In Heat. It's like Five Nights at Freddy, but with hot furry women. There isn't a ton of furry H games on the sale, and those that aren't very good sales. I think they can't offer better sales because the buyer base for these games is smaller, and even more so when appealing to the furry niche. You can get In Heat for 20% off at $12. This also just came out, so that's a pretty good sale. Flip Witch. Metroidvania H game where you play a witch trying to stop an evil lady's resurrection. This is honestly an H game for people who don't like H games. A great gateway into the genre. Great gameplay, best music on the planet, cute art, lots of content, and sex scenes nearly every few minutes. Problem is the kink offering is pretty minuscule. If you're a furry, the majority of these scenes are going to be pretty vanilla. There are some furries in Neko though, but there's zero male-male scenes. It's lesbian and straight only. 25% off for $11. Princess and Conquest, a third H game from the publisher Critical Bliss. This one is a big blend of a lot of genres, RPG, roguelike, strategy, and more. It's hard for me to describe it, and it certainly doesn't help that I've only played it once and never gone back. I remember me and Blythe not liking it that much. I definitely remember it feeling very unfinished. There are a lot of recruitable girls and a large variety of furry girls to get to know, wink wonk. My review said that the combat was terrible, but the story and girls are cute, but I also said there are a lot of wrong ways to play this game, which is usually a big no-no for me. Anyway, try it yourself for only $11. It's been a couple years since I last played, so don't let my opinion that I couldn't even remember stop you. Orc Massage, another Critical Bliss H game where you play an orc and you give massages to monster girls. Poor guy just wants to run a massage parlor and these girls keep asking for extra services. You'll be massaging a harpy, elf, tiger cat girl, and a mermaid, which is pretty interesting offerings. Only $12, but people say the game has been abandoned and updates are slow, but for $12 there's still a good amount of lewd if that's what you're getting it for. And that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'm going to stare at a wall because it's the only thing that I can afford to do.